In this video, we will return to the userService.cfc component and write the code that will actually send the email message to the new musician. So let's return to ColdFusion Builder, and in the components folder, I will now open userService.cfc. The method that I need is the very last one of the component. It's the sendApprovedMail method, and that method has an access attribute that is set to private. And this is very different from the other methods that we have used so far in this course. Those methods were public methods. Also, when no access attribute is supplied, as it is the case for the deactivate user method here, it means that it defaults to a public method. But here we have a private method. This means that this method can only be accessed from within the userService.cfc component. In other words, only the other methods defined in the userService.cfc component can use the sendApprovedMail method. But the sendApprovedMail method cannot be called directly from another component or from a regular.cfm page because it is private to this userService.cfc component. Also notice that the method takes one argument, which is the ID number of the user that I want to approve. I will use that information and cfset to create another variable, which is local.user, and I will make that equal to this dot get user by ID, and I will use arguments dot user ID to specify which user I want to retrieve from the database. Alright, the this keyword here means that I'm using the getUserById method that is defined in this userService.cfc component. Now that I have all the information of the user that I'm approving, I can send an email to that user using the cfmail tag of ColdFusion, and this tag open and closes, and this tag can take a whole bunch of attributes, and you will probably recognize some of them. BCC and CC, for example. You will also recognize the password and the port number. Also here you have the server or even the username. But if you supply server, username, port, and so on directly on the cfmail tag, it means that you overwrite what you have defined in the ColdFusion administrator or in the application.cfc file. And here, this is not what we want to do. So we will not supply those attributes here to the cfmail tag. But I must supply at least those three attributes that are above the line. Those are mandatory. So let's go. From is the email address from which I want to send an email. It's administrator@hdstreet.com. The subject is the subject of the email. You've been approved, like that. And the to is the email address to which ColdFusion should send that message. And this is a dynamic piece of data. It's a piece of data that is in the local.user variable, and it is the FLD user email field. So the email address of the user as entered by the user himself on the completewithus.cfm page. Now, in between open and close cfmail, this is where you can write the message that you want to send to that user. But that message has already been written for you. It's in the includes folder in the approved usermail.cfm file. So here I will use cfinclude to include a template that is up one level. So from the components folder, I return to the root of the application. And once at the root of the application, I can go to the includes folder. And this is where I can find the approved usermail.cfm file. Okay, let's save userService.cfc. That's it for sendApprovedMail. Now let's return to the approve user method, because there is one more little thing to change in that userService component. After updating the user approved and the user is active fields of the database, I should now send the email, and I do that using cfset, and I call the send approved mail method, and don't forget to pass arguments dot user ID to the send approved mail method. Now I can call the send approved mail method that way because approve user and send approved mail are both in the same component, so approve user can use the private methods of that component. Okay, let's save userservice.cfc. I will now return in the admin folder to the user's administration that you are developing, and I will run that page. Alright, so don't forget to pass the restart app URL parameter to make sure that you have the latest version of the userservice.cfc component available in the application scope. There we go. And now I will test that approve process. I will approve one of those users. There we go. So you see that the user has disappeared from the users to approve table. And in a few seconds, I should see that in my fake SMTP server, I have one message. You see that I have a message that comes from the administrator. It's going to that email address. The subject is you've been approved. And if you want to see the message, you just double click on the message. If an email client is set up on your computer, it will open your email client and you will be able to see the message. In my case, I will go to the last message tag, and here you can see the last message that has been sent. Notice that this is just a bunch of HTML code. Notice also here that we have used CF output to send the username and the password to that user. So this is how the user can connect to his profile on the site and choose another password of his choice. You know how to send email. You also know how to use fake SMTP to take a look at the emails that ColdFusion sends and eventually debug the system. You can now return to the PDF file and continue the user's administration of the site. I will meet you in the next video and I will show you how to use the inline if function of ColdFusion.